I will start the briefing on problems of family life and upbringing children in Ukraine. Our speakers are Natalia Cholodenko, psychologist and personal growth trainer, Iryna Lytovchenko, co-founder and executive director of charity foundation Tabletochki, Nadia Rudenko, organizer of the Family Fest, founder of the Successful People Club, Oleksandra Askochenska, who is PR director of the Family Fest, and Dmytro Karpachov, psychologist.
She didn't mention. Oh.
Okay, we start our press conference on the problems of family life and upbringing children in Ukraine. We want to attract public attention to the popularization of family values. Regrettably, in 2014, more than 60% of marriages ended in divorce, and almost 90% of marriages fall apart within 5 years. And last year, the population of Ukraine decreased by 144,000 people. Out of 300,000 marriages, up to 20% of children live and grow in non-full, incomplete families. Out of 92,000 orphans of Ukraine, 10% have living parents who just leave them in orphanages and do not visit them. And the rest of them are vagabonds, and they commit suicides or end up in prison. In order to confirm the fact that there are no strange families, we will conduct a family fest in early July to teach people to spend their free time together. And we will also collect money under the auspices of Foundation Tabletochki. We will send the money to the education of families, and also there will be an exhibition of children's drawings. And the word goes to Nadia Rudenko, who is the organizer of the Family Fest. I am co-organizers of the Family Fest, and our aim was to increase the number of happy families in Ukraine, knowing the scary statistics that Oleksandra told us about. We decided not to agree with this and to create this unique project. And we look at two main components of every family. First of all, relations between a woman and a man, how to correctly build your relations, how to correctly quarrel, how to live together, and relations between children and parents, which is very correct, how to teach kids to make their first steps. This is we parents who lay down the foundations of this, and of course the popularity of our Future Fest is so high that we selected the best psychologists and best educators who not only know how to deal with family problems, but they are happy families themselves, and they can provide a correct consultation that will strengthen our families. Up to 32 speakers will speak at the fest. There will be 3 halls where the families will meet, and they will be able to choose where to go and how to learn to make their families happier. I give the floor to Natalia Cholodenko, who is a psychologist, and she's a personal growth trainer, and she's a speaker at the Family Fest.
Thank you. You know, very often I participate in similar conferences, fests. I've been practicing as psychologist for 14 years, and I see that we learn the Newton law at school and other useful knowledge we get in different fields of knowledge, but not a single child that finishes school, not a single student that graduates from the university understands how to resolve family conflicts, how to bring up children, what will lead to preservation of relation or to split. We don't have that ideological concept at the level of the country, the concept of support of the family. I had many examples when a young family comes to me and they say, teach us how to live together. While there's love, there's sex and some emotions, the relations are quite successful. When some everyday problems start, some crisis, the crisis of the first year of living, the crisis of first child, then the child would have a crisis. If the family knows what to do in these situations, what is the norm, what is not, then they can prevent many things. I'm sure that this fest is for those who are searching. This is for those who want to have more quality family life, more quality relations, communication to a child, to children. And that's the paradox. Those who need it mostly, they're not interested in such topics. But those who are searching, for them, well, I believe that it is difficult to get high quality knowledge in family psychology and in family relations. There are many populistic speakers who have no experience, no background, no family. They don't understand what the family should look like, but they have quite successful commercial projects. But even such commercial projects, they do not help. And I believe that such festivals, they should be taking place with the support of the president, of some very serious ministries, organizations, because the family defines everything that is happening in socium, economic climate, whether we will have war or not, that is all. That all starts in the family. And if a child grows up in a conflict family where there's no love, no respect, no understanding, this child, just like a virus, will multiply it, will take it over. In Ukraine, 8 families of writers preserved Ukrainian language, and thanks to them, Ukrainian language exists still. If 8 families manage to preserve Ukrainian literature language, then the number of families who will be able to attend our fest, they will be able not just to preserve their families, but to disseminate this idea, to carry it on. Thank you, Natalia. Also, at Family Fest, we want to emphasize that we have no strange children, and that is why we will have an exhibition of the children's paintings, and I would like to give the floor to Iryna Lytovchenko, the co-founder and executive director of charity foundation Tabletochki, who helps us who is trying to help those children who feel some problems. Tabletochki fund is 4 years old, and about 5,000 children received assistance from our fund, and the sum was about 30 million hryvnias. We are taking care of all the babies and children who are treated in Kiev Regional Onco Hospital and in Okhmadet, and we are buying the medicines which are needed for oncology patients, and we send children for treatment abroad. So our state cannot save lives of such children, and only such volunteers as our fund can help in that. Why this topic of the festival is so close to us, why we joined the fest because children who are treated from blood cancer with their mothers, they stay at the hospital from half a year to a year. And many parents, many fathers leave families because they do not know how to cope with such situation. And the mothers who stay without support, it's much more difficult for them to cope with the situation. They are always in distress, and it doesn't help a child to get cured. If we explain to these parents that how important it is to preserve the family, and if we give them the values that will save the life of the child, that will be very important. Thank you, Iryna. Thank you for your contribution. I would like to request Evgeny Kampanets, the organizer of the festival, about what will be this fest. Evgeny Kampanets, organizer of Family Fest. We make it just like for ourselves. I'm a father of 2 children. I have 2 sons. One is almost 3, another one is almost 1 year old. So basically every family can come there and participate together in the competitions, play into something, dance, to have lunch together, to play with toys together. While the parents are being trained, they attend the trainings. Your children can stay in children's zones and can learn something new. The fest will be very interesting. We will have many interesting things for children, for parents. Please come. We invite you. It will be very useful. Thank you. Ask questions, please, about all the activities. Thank you.
Any questions from the floor? Well, if there are no questions, then thank you very much for your detailed presentation. We understood everything, and we do support your invitation to take part in Family Fest. So the briefing is over, and our next briefing is at 12:30. Oh, there is a question. Yes. Svetlana Moskan, blog Best Mom. As a psychologist, Natalia, what will be the practical advice? We know that the situation in the country is in crisis, and a lot of families are without money. So they have financial problems that lead to family problems, to conflicts because they don't have enough money. And we know that the state does not provide enough. So will there be any advice during the festival to moms who are on maternity leave or who would like to go on maternity leave, how to combine motherhood, good motherhood, and the upbringing of a child, and maybe earn some financial support? And I'll tell you at once that there is an opinion that, for instance, when you send your kid to kindergarten, my older child is 4 now, and we are looking at the kindergarten where he does not adapt very well, but I do have an opportunity to be beside my child and to combine something. But there's an opinion that if we send a kid to a kindergarten at an early age, we do teach them to be social, but we kill family communication and the ability to build family relations, because we surrender them to a socium where they contact with other kids and people, but this is being disrupted in the family because for most part of the time they are in a group, they spend less time with mom and dad, and mom does not have an opportunity to sit with a kid and to pay attention and time to a kid, and also to find a possibility and opportunity to earn money. So I think that this is a problem of small kids and little children. as we surrender them to the kindergarten at an early age, as we do not have enough time. If you allow me, I'll answer the first part of the question, and Natalia will answer the second one as a psychologist. As far as finance is concerned, yes, you are absolutely right. There's a lot of conflict in the families because of the lack of money, and families are ruined. There will be people at our fest who will talk about finance and family finance, for instance, Iryna Lytovchenko, and of course the financial well-being of a man depends first of all on his woman, how she inspires him, and it is very important in the family to distribute roles as they should be distributed. Who is responsible for what, and our specialists will dwell on the roles of men and women in the family and how the underplay of these roles affects the well-being and good relations in the family. Iryna Lytovchenko will talk about how to increase your finance and about the inspiration, how to inspire a man to earn more money, and how to help your man to jump higher and higher. Oleksandra will tell, and this will be, is it practical or theoretical advice? As yes, you're right. And this will be practical advice because, for instance, Iryna Lytovchenko is the first person who introduced financial literacy, and Oleksandra is a happy father who has a family of his own, and they have 3 children, and there's a lot of practical result. And you know, I check the results, for instance, speaking to families who reunited because of his advice. And the advice will be both for women and men, because when the entire family hears this, this will be much easier to realize, and there will be a lot more of understanding. We create everything possible so that we regard the family as a set of people.
I don't know which question to answer. Is it about a child, about the kindergarten? It's about early kindergarten, which interrupts the connection between the mother and the child and kills the ability to communicate in the family. I cannot say you yes or no, because the skill of being in socium is as important as the skill of being in the family. Not every child is ready to be in a kindergarten at the age of 1.5. But we need to look at the child. You need to look at the child when a child can speak, when a child can explain what he likes, what he doesn't like. Talking about the family, the question is not about the amount of time spent, but in the quality of that time. And here's the problem. Even if a mother is sitting with the child, I see the situation when the child is playing in the playing ground and the mother is talking on the phone. It is important for a mother and the father to make contribution at least 1 hour a day to play with the child, to discuss something, to do something with the child. But just to take a child somewhere and the child sees that mother and father are 2 persons who are just walking walking next to you. The real attitude is developed based on communications and family traditions. And this information will also be explained at the fest, right? talking to many moms. For example, from September we are planning to go to the kindergarten. We were trying, the child was crying. Many say that not to the kindergarten. The psychologists are saying that it's better not to take to a kindergarten. That's the extreme. The mother or a father even 100 years ago had no opportunity to stay with the child till the child is 15. Ideally, that desire to have everything ideally leads to many problems. So it is important to have a reasonable approach. Talking about the child 4 years is probably a little bit late. That is why he's probably crying. And you cannot say that it's better to take at 4 or at 3 or at 5, don't take him anywhere, because this will be a big trauma. No one in Socium will approach this child with the correct system of coordinates, psychological system of coordinates. Different people will approach a child. A task of any parent is to get a child adapted to the Socium, and Socium is different. To teach a child how to stay without parents, it doesn't mean that you have to leave a child alone and the child will be educated by Socium. I like the seminars of Dmytro Karpachov, and I believe that he is doing it all at a high level, and I learn a lot from him. But when I see people who come to him to seminars, these are people who are interested in how to educate, how to bring up children. Those who go there, that means that this is a good parent. But the problem is that there are those who do not attend such seminars, and they educate their children in different way. And our children, they need to be taught how to behave with such children. Like in the kindergarten where they see different. Then at 15 they meet with such children in the street, and they are to be ready for that, because the society is different. This is the fact. And I believe there are problems more important. We live in illusions, we live in a myth that just give the information and everyone will be developing. And you are asking about practical recommendations. For a person to understand, sometimes you need to repeat something 10 times, 110 times. That is why such festivals are so important. Maybe a person will hear from me something which the person heard 15 years ago, but only now will understand it. The problem is to listen is interesting, but to do is difficult, and not everyone's ready to that. So this needs to be like repetitive. You need to repeat it, and it will start working at some stage. Thank you. While I was listening to you, I have another question. You mentioned that these roles, a woman, a man, will you be discussing non-traditional families at family festive? These are partners, not a wife and a husband.
Thank you for a very good question. Non-traditional families we have not included into the block of our lectures, not just because we treat them differently, but we are oriented at a traditional family that is more spread on the territory of Ukraine. No, we won't have a block on non-traditional families, but maybe you'll deal with this during the next phase. Yes, of course, in Europe where I work, there's a progress of non-traditional families who are adopting children actively, and they are paying attention to this. But I think that every project should choose their focus of attention, and our task is to support every family to the maximum. If we support traditional families enough, then this decreases the probability of the appearance of non-traditional family. We understand very well that the appearance of non-traditional family is, as well as the peculiarities of some people's development. They start with the family. I won't touch upon the issue where from traditional or non-traditional families originate. If there are no other questions, we will now finish. Thank you very much. Wish you success in your festival, and our next briefing is at 5:30.